Hi everybody, and today I'm going to talk about a chart that was a request from one of my subscribers, and that's basically a very quick overview of what I see in the charts, just as a maybe personality traits or things to kind of things that maybe jump at me. And also I went through the transits that perhaps that looked at me as the strongest transits for the upcoming year or so. And again, this is not any sort of a consultation. This is more for entertainment purposes, completely free. I just had a few minutes, so I went through and I looked at the things that jumped at me at this chart. So first, let's take a look at the chart itself. And again, this is not a comprehensive overview, just a few things that I thought that perhaps were interesting. And let's take a look at those first. Okay, so this is the chart that I had created using Astrodean's or astro.com website. It is super useful, 100% free. Of course, you can use any tool that you'd like. And the time that I was provided is this one, January 14th, 79, 6:10 a.m. in Kolkata, India. So as long as this time is correct, that's the chart we're going to analyze. So first, and I will have a separate section in this video where I go through some transits, but just to take a quick look at the chart itself, as well as you see, I have included here progressed planetary positions and solar arc positions, and there's some interesting story there too. I will only mention one here, and that is a precise position where the progressed moon, as you can see, at the time where the person had asked basically for some insights, is going exactly over their natal sun. And this usually indicates a new phase in life that will last for next, I would say, about 29 years or so. So it's like a fairly long-term phase, and they may really feel inspired to begin something new or sort of reassess who they were. One period may be ending and the new period may be beginning. So it is interesting that obviously intuitively they felt that they wanted to kind of gain some more information. I'm sure there's some issues going on, or not necessarily issues, but things going on, and it's helpful to have some insights into that. But I just thought that this is interesting how sort of precise these things are happening, and there's some other things going on, but I don't really have time. Really, this is a quick free glance, not a consultation of any sort. It's just something that I'm just doing for fun. And let's see, so just to quickly look at the chart itself, what I'm gathering without knowing anything about this person other than this date of birth that I'm provided, what I'm seeing is that they may be somebody who is actually very much into either keeping up with their health, as in like being athletic and in good shape. The sun rising means, again, they like to have that sort of influence on other people where they're perceived, somebody comes into the room and they're like shining like a sun rising. Basically, they have a lot of attention on them. It's something that you see in many, like, say, not celebrities, but actors or something. Actresses have that. And it's going to also have to do with their sort of body itself being some sort of prominent, or their sort of energy about themselves. And with Mars being here, it means that, again, they're either competitive at the least, somebody who likes to kind of start things fast, and they maybe almost feel like somewhat impulsive, but they're able to control that. They're not necessarily impulsive without like preparation. This Capricorn will tone that down, Sun in Capricorn and rising Capricorn. But they will like attention, and they will be probably looking after their health to make sure they're strong and they're maybe healthy, and maybe there will be either exercising, or they may be like enjoy being in either military or police. And that kind of is being seconded here, I guess, by this. Again, I'm using this Western astrology for all that. We have midheaven in Scorpio, and that also often coincides with things like indeed being a career and say criminal justice, police, and we have here the ninth house of sort of legal issues. Pluto is here again, criminal justice, so to speak. So it could be somebody who is dealing with things, either maybe they need to be in good health because they're, literally running after criminals, or they just like to be, in such shape because they want to just, at the very minimum, in the public eye, have that sort of power, be perceived as somebody who is strong, powerful, draws attention. Other areas that relate as far as their career goes that could be related to this, that both come from sort of Capricorn and the Scorpio and Pluto kind of information here. It could be, like I said, somebody who is literally works in police, criminal justice, or it could be something that they just believe in. Is their belief that they need to kind of be very just, and if others are not just, especially to their partners, they really this person may get offended personally and just kind of call them to justice sort of on their own, not necessarily professionally, but there's just something that they really feel strongly about. But other career opportunities here that I see would be something working with like nuclear power, being a research scientist, somebody who is really digging deep, uncovering hidden issues, or somebody who's dealing with underground locations, which again may involve criminals, maybe calling somebody and finding people who are not doing something correctly, or it could be literally visiting mines. Maybe they're working, again, Scorpio also has to do with finance and investments, but the investments may focus on a need to do some research, like I said first. So somebody who's researching things to provide, analytics for a bank to make decisions, for investors, and that may especially be related to, say, they have to maybe visit mines, or they need to analyze, some chemical composition of something to make sure that, it's worth investing in that, company that's producing certain, compounds or something like that. Nuclear power, this Uranus is here, maybe some uranium mines or something like that. That's another possibility. At the very minimum, personality-wise, this will be a person who is actually fairly serious, competitive, looks after their health, and they will want to, be perceived as a serious person. They not necessarily need to they will be, the attention will be on them when they come into the room. At the same time, they may not necessarily want that, but there will be this maybe aura about them that will still draw that attention, but they're interested in things, uncovering things that are hidden. Here we have also Mercury in the 12th house, so the way they're sort of thinking, they are able to kind of use their intuition and imagination a lot to uncover certain things. Sometimes it may be sort of taking them the wrong way, where maybe, their imagination isn't necessarily yielding correct sort of results, so to speak, but, at the same time, they may have indeed potentially, like I said, very good imagination, and or literally what they're writing about, or maybe where they're traveling, has to do with places that are either secluded, hidden, secretive, like say prisons, monasteries, places that are, underground, secluded, or have to do with like recycling. So things that are sort of reaching their end of life, and they need to help kind of deal with that. So again, could be chemicals that deal with recycling something, or it could be helping people who are, dying with their sort of end-of-life decisions, or maybe, therefore, again, Scorpio, inheritance. So maybe helping people with kind of where to put their money when they're dying. So all of that could be related to this. Another thing to note here about this Mercury is that it's actually a ruler of the 6th house of health. So say this person was, as well as, I guess, co-ruler here of the 8th house of potentially either transformation of death or resources from other people. But that's why I said maybe they're dealing with, say, helping people invest, especially maybe dealing with, say, taxes, or insuring people against, not against health insurance or long-term life insurance could be another place. But another area, like I said, go back to health, is that their health issues may be related to lungs, breathing, communicating, and sort of nervous system. So maybe they can be overwhelmed sometimes, and or have problems breathing for whatever reason, and for them to feel better, they need to maybe seek seclusion or go somewhere on the seaside somewhere, or just calm down or meditate to kind of reach that internal sort of peace for them to be able to, again, breathe again properly. Or maybe there's a hidden issue where they're not themselves even aware of that they have, again, related to either nervous system and not the brain, but rather like this, I guess, parasympathetic nervous system. And so something that just kind of, to check on to make sure you're getting proper, nutrients and not overwhelming yourself with too much sort of thinking and communication that's happening like too rapidly or kind of is disorganized, may overwhelm the system, so to speak. The Saturn here, as well as a North Node in the 8th house, again, may potentially indicate, for one, this is an important area to them, so like life and death issues, taxes, insurance, investments, as well as kind of inheritance, are important issues to them. So in their life, they will have to kind of work through this. Saturn is, sometimes being talked about as like sort of karmic planet, where things maybe are delayed here, delayed gratification, or if a person works really hard through these issues, you can actually get bigger, than expected reward, and or this person literally uses it as their job, or they have to work through it in order for them. Again, this is the ruler of the first house of like health, personal goals, in order for them to feel like they're fulfilling their sort of goals in their lives or feel healthy and well balanced and kind of true to themselves. They need to work through these issues. So what can be these issues? Like I said, they may feel like they need to really work, and just even if it's for pro bono, help people with say investments or insurance, or setting up their sort of inheritance correctly, or helping them retrieve the money that say they were loaned or they loaned to somebody else, or basically setting up, not setting up, but rather fixing things that if something goes wrong and in their own life, maybe there are some disputes, and I will talk about it in what I see in transits, maybe say they are about to receive an inheritance and there are disputes with, say, their siblings or something like that, or there's a loan or some financial disputes with, say, their neighbors over like cars or something like that, that they may need to really be thorough about working this through, because if things are being brushed off and not worked through thoroughly and step by step, these things may come to bite. So maybe, like I said, it may be sort of a painful process to get the money that you had inherited, but it will be worth it. Or if they're investing or advising investments, that the investments would be best, that would be long term, based on very thorough research, and are related to like large companies, corporations, coal mining, like I said, maybe chemical engineering kind of research involved, etc. So something that's based on a very like solid ground. So the investments for them, I would say, and again here the 5th house is also, I guess, ruled by Mercury, and it's in the 12th house. So they either can have really good intuition and kind of come up with ideas about investments based sort of on intuition, but this can also indicate illusion, or having some secretive information, or information, like I said, coming from underground. Literally, they visited a mine, they saw it, and they can give recommendation. But for either investing themselves or give advice, if say they work in the banking industry about investments, they should really be basing it on very strong sort of foundation, research, long-term research as much as possible. And again, their advice should also go long-term, or they may be better off working with older clients and helping them with, like I said, insurance, and making sure that inheritance, maybe not necessarily their personal inheritance, but their clients' inheritance is distributed fairly and squarely. So here is another very, it's a little bit of a wide, in my opinion, square between Pluto and Sun and Mars. So this has to do with, again, if say they're working, this has to do with dealing with something that's either criminal or issues related to justice or nuclear power, or just some sort of power that's like an authority that's putting pressure on them, or somebody who is doing something illegally. So they either may feel pressure that somebody is pushing them to do something illegal, or they themselves may really hate the idea of somebody doing something illegally rather, and they may be, somebody who is going to call them and literally like punish them and basically, bring justice to this person. But they may be kind of irritated, and it may almost become like their, again, if it's not a job, this may become sort of like their quest, so to speak, to make sure that justice is done. Or they may have people who are not necessarily doing things the most legal way, go after them and pressure them to change, how they are, change their life goals. And this may be a big sort of a issue, and these people may have to do with be from a justice system, some corrupt, lawyers or something, corrupt judges, or these could be people who are their partners. Here we have Jupiter in the partnership sort of a area that are foreign partners, international partners, or partners that are dealing with something, maybe shipment from overseas. And these people, again, may be either people who are just like very putting a lot of pressure, or maybe they're doing something illegal, so they may be feeling, the person may be feeling that there is this pressure kind of on them to make sure that things are done, correctly, or else, there may be even a fight. So that's something to be, I guess, wary of, to make sure that as they travel or they deal with people from other cultures, or they discuss maybe religious sort of issues with other people, that it is not being done in any sort of without any animosity, because these issues can get very much heat up, and the person may feel like they need to kind of, really prove their point. And again, there may not be a need for all this kind of a heated sort of discussion at this point. So speaking of the partners, whether it's business partners or personal partners, there's a good chance that this person's partner is either from a different culture, they have different beliefs, or they're overseas, or they met when they were overseas, or this person is really highly educated, such as maybe they're really, again, like a PhD or something like that, and or they're just like well published, maybe like a writer, or somebody who is like really quiet, intellectually, I guess, advanced, and is able to keep this person kind of interested. Maybe there's some disagreement even because, again, the cultures are different, etc. But at the same time, it may also be a point where there's interest, because again, there's this difference, uniqueness, and you can learn from your partner again and again. At best sort of scenario, this also Jupiter is in Leo here. This person maybe, the partner or partners, maybe people who are somewhat either famous, or even if they're not famous, they like to kind of show themselves off. And so overall, this is actually, I'd say, a positive thing. The partner may be fairly, at the very minimum, smart, and and like the well-educated, but there's a very high probability that this person is either from a different religious background, or has some sort of like this kind of beliefs that relate to other culture, even if they're not from a different culture. This person just likes to travel, they speak multiple languages, etc., etc. At the same time, this moon here indicates that their partnerships probably will be fairly warm, and the partner, having a partner, will make them feel like they have a home, and it's a true family in the home, and they will feel pretty happy being in the partnership. And somehow a partner will remind them maybe of mother in some way. It certainly will be a warm, at least it should be warm, and the relationship, and in the relationship they will also grow. So through their partner, they will maybe get to travel more, or through learning other languages, they will get some new perception of things, or learn just a lot from their partner, really. And again, this could be business partnerships, just people who are kind of with whom they have these one-on-one sort of relationships. So let's see what else. Uranus here in the 10th house of sort of career could be something that there may be some changes. Sometimes there may be a radical change in their career or social status, where a person may just decide, I'm done with this, I want to start a new phase in life, and I just want to be doing something completely different. And or they may just really enjoy their career to do multiple things that are just like switching from one to another, because they just have this extra energy, and they just maybe have a few sort of things going on. Maybe they have one job, but then they also have some hobbies that are not quite like a job, but they're really serious because they have multiple talents and they just can't really be doing one thing because they just have so many talents really and exciting things, and things are just too exciting to just do one thing. Or they may be changing this, or they will want to change, but once they change they will stick with that. So maybe in career there'll be a time where they can either incorporate more sort of new, maybe high-tech sort of things into their career. So maybe they're investigating something and they use really high-end equipment suddenly, or they deal with companies or businesses that have to do with like IT, for example, or aerospace, something that's really advanced, because again that's kind of exciting and interesting. Or if they don't get to do that at their work, they may have like a side hobby or something that they do where they get to explore these interesting new angles of things and be sort of inventing new opportunities, whether they're paid or not. So speaking of money, it does look like the ruler of the second house of money is in the 10th house here. So I would say that their income for the most part will be related to their sort of job and career as a main thing. But again, this may be something where I wouldn't say that they wouldn't probably have many careers. It would be one, but it may either change rapidly or they will have some other sort of interests on the side if they're not able to do something exciting in their job, like they don't get to use some high-tech equipment or develop new things. They may just kind of seek to do that in parallel on their own. Let's see, they should have probably a lot of, again, friends. Their friends again may be quite well educated, either again they're from some sort of a high background, religious background, people who are like either maybe very well educated, either lawyers, or people who are foreigners, or people who are well traveled, speak multiple languages, well to do, probably have some financial resources and are able to enable nice lifestyle for themselves. And or they're just like there are a lot of women perhaps among their friends. And also these people may be again somewhat religious, or people who are just very like inspired, maybe talented and artistic. And that seems to be both the case to a degree with their partners, but even more so with their friends. So it could be just related, and we have this nice connection between partners and friends. So I guess they probably will get along, maybe even friends somehow related to their partner. So maybe partner has this group of friends who are, say, artists or famous people, or they're just very, very well educated people, or just people from a different culture. So it's kind of fun and interesting because you're learning about these things. You get to try different foods, etc., from people who again are from other culture, or because they've traveled to other places. And let's see, excuse me, I do have this Chiron here. It's an asteroid. I don't always interpret it, but basically to me this means that, and it's in the house sort of representing family. So the family here is I'd say fairly stable. It's in begins here cusp with the houses in Taurus, so I'd say it's fairly stable. Focus could be on staying sort of in one place, and maybe it's fairly traditional lifestyle, and it focuses maybe either on finance or construction, or literally maybe farming or something like that. That maybe is important in connection with the family, or it could be just the family that is like, again, very much traditional. At the same time, Chiron here near the cusp of the 4th house may indicate that either maybe somebody in the family is either a doctor, or healthcare is important somehow for the family. Maybe there's some health issue that is, again, the entire family is sort of focused on it as, some either genetic something, or there's a person maybe in the family that is known to have some issue, and everybody's just like, oh yeah, of course, it's like some uncle and everybody knows about it, but they are like extra weak when they need something. Or, like I said, people are just there maybe more focused on healing in general. It may not necessarily even be physical. It could be just like the issues related to healing may be important for the family, and this person kind of associates it with sort of their background or with how they grew up, and to them it is something important that I guess maybe for them having a home, that there is a place of healing in their home, or that they need home and family in order for them to be able to address some sort of issue that perhaps, if they don't feel well, that they need to be at home, hidden sort of away from people. This is similar to like this Mercury that rules the 6th house of health also being in the 12th house. That's like hidden away from things. So it's either related, like their maybe lifestyle is such that, when they feel sick, they need to go on a retreat to feel better. Or it's something that they were like even born with, or their whole family has this thing where basically they're more like susceptible to something. So they need to kind of retreat back home and use the old true and proven like family, recipes or something to get better. Or this person is literally related to actual profession of healing. And if they are, that would be something related to reproduction, most likely like gynecology or something like that. And they may be, even if, or they could be, I guess if they wanted to work with like cutting bone or teeth, they could. Again, this could be either, through profession, or this could be through, say, if they needed to be like a soldier, there would be somebody who would not be afraid of like the sight of blood, that they could actually go and accomplish things and they would not, flinch. That's just more of a personality thing. So, but somehow, like I said, the issues of healing and retreating somewhere, especially to home or away from sort of public eye to be healed, seem to be important, and that may have been connected. So somehow how they were brought up, either by witnessing somebody that needed to be healed, or perhaps somebody in their family is a healer. So that's about it, I guess. Just a general overview of things. And next, I'm going to have a segment where I'm going to discuss upcoming transits for the next year or so for this person. And feel free to, of course, leave any comments and any insights that you may have yourselves. So let's move on to the next one. So now let's take a closer look at the transits. I did not capture the screenshots for all the various transits. I did show you a chart that had both the natal planets in it, as well as two sort of charts for the current time period that are often used for making like some sort of prognosis, which is the progressed planetary positions, as well as the solar arcs. There are quite a few transits that are important in this person's life that are coming up. And like I said, rather than capturing a whole bunch of charts, I'm just going to quickly talk through them, rather what I think those transits may indicate. Again, this is not an in-depth analysis, but really just going over the very, I guess, the most important upcoming transits for the next year or so. Let's see. So some of them are very like, the days that I will give are fairly precise. So for example, on literally October 11 and 12, this person may have events in their life where they will feel like they will need to focus on either issues related to religion or laws, or maybe some legal issues that they may get involved in. At the same time, these issues may be related to finance. So perhaps somebody comes to them for their legal advice regarding, a loan or something like that, or they themselves may be seeking such advice, or perhaps they're considering investing in something, and again, there's some legal issues come about that. Another possibility is that those investments of finance may be related to something that's overseas or international, again, investments overseas, or perhaps the source of, either legal concerns or the finance or financial resource is somehow related to foreign lands. So this, like I said, may involve dealing with perhaps either legal authorities or some sort of international entities, and the situation should hopefully help clarify either where to invest or where the money might be coming from, or is it worth even getting engaged in something like that. Other clarifications may involve like how much debt exactly would be paid or should be paid, or how much something will cost, or what laws need to be basically taken into consideration to make sure that things proceed properly legally from this, financial perspective. Let's see. Other possibilities, again, may involve things like traveling somewhere long distance for, say, higher education, or getting involved in maybe obtaining such education, such as enrolling in some course or meeting somebody who is highly educated or is known as an authority in that position. And education or travel long distance or meeting an authority in this area may be related to things like, say, criminal justice or mining, or perhaps even recycling, nuclear power. So either the authority person can be from these industries, say you're enrolling in a course and the professor, is an expert in that industry, or the travel, say overseas, deals with that, like traveling to maybe look at the mine at another country or something like that. Other possibilities are things like human reproduction, or even death, if somebody, is involved with that for either religious purposes, or maybe it's their job. They may be, again, either teaching about that, perhaps to a larger audience, or they're meeting with somebody who's an expert in those areas, or they're traveling to deal with that. Or there may be some legal issues that come up related to those areas. Let's see. All of those issues, regardless of what they may encounter as far as the physical manifestations, the sort of on spiritual level, on the higher level, I guess, the purpose of these events may be to have some more deep spiritual thought about it, or insight as far as like, why am I doing this, and is it really worth it? So then a slightly longer time period, and I'm going basically in a period in order of things that as they unfold, rather than what's important, what's kind of a shorter versus long-term influence. More I'm just going as I'm looking at things, over the upcoming months. So the end of October, like literally about October 31st through very early November, so November 5th, there may be some time where some sort of power struggles may intensify, and or the person may be involved in either aggressive or risky activities. There may be some arguments with somebody about beliefs or issues or legal issues, maybe some contention, like I said, perhaps related to this very financial to these very issues related to finance, or there may be some concerns like, do you have enough, proper paperwork to start a project that's related to finance, or do you have proper paperwork to travel somewhere, or you traveled somewhere, but then beliefs of people in that culture perhaps do not align with yours, and so there's some conflict about that, or conflict begins even before the travel or the legal issue even begins, because again, people don't see eye to eye because of some beliefs, cultural differences, or moral differences. And so there may be need, like I said, very end of October, early November, to exert some extra energy to accomplish those goals, and especially goals related to job, career, or social status. So basically being taken seriously and being able to proceed with those kind of projects. Extra sort of force may be required, and at the same time, this may be in time where one may be prone to accidents. So if some things are stalling, basically, yes, indeed, some force may be required, some extra strength to kind of power through them, but at the same time, one should be very careful to not kind of take unnecessary risks and pay attention, again, especially during travels, to make sure to not get into an accident. Then, generally, in early November, there's a time of intensified activity, like communication and possibly arguments related to partnerships, and those may involve personal, relations as well as business partnerships. So anything related to any sort of contracts, agreements, negotiating, like the sale of something or purchase of something. So it may not necessarily be a negative thing, but it may be this kind of a discussion, how much, under what conditions, etc. And the conflict or disagreement may involve basically the this individual's chart, that person's future goals. What do they want for themselves? Who they want to be? How do they want to basically to look? What do they want to pursue? And their partner's goals and perhaps beliefs. So the partner can say, oh, let's travel, and the person says, no, let's stay here. Partner says, well, let's be, inclusive, and the partner, like I said, could be a business partner. Let's bring so and so on board because, you know, we're in alignment here, and the person, you know, like I said, whose chart we're looking at may not necessarily see the same way long term, because this, you know, other person, third partner, perhaps brings some other beliefs that, you know, do not align, and so basically there may be this kind of a tense negotiations or tense kind of discussions, and again the partners may be seeing what's good for them, what's good for their health, what's good for their goals kind of differently at this time. And that's early November, and this may be related again to career, social status. Perhaps what person thinks will be good for them to improve their career and their social status long term may not be what their partner you know, may think that is good for them, or perhaps how they're viewed in society and how they would like to be viewed in society. They maybe want to change that, but that doesn't really align with their current, you know, partnership, or perhaps a partnership that is being discussed at the time. It doesn't necessarily fit those goals, and so there may be pressure there from sort of external pressure, where a person may feel that they're being perceived as their sort of old self, and really they want to have like new characteristics shine, or they want to pursue new goals, and yet they're being forced to kind of show their themselves to the world from this old perspective, because others are used to seeing them like so, and there's this conflict due to that. Then moving on to kind of further in November of this year, from about November 16, or not about, but rather around November 16, plus minus a few days, there may be a period, a few days, where a person may feel inspired, hopeful, or artistic. So they may feel like spending money on something that's beautiful, maybe even donating money to charity, or buying something that has to do with art, like some photography equipment perhaps, or just doing something that's like basically for the soul, replenishing themselves, or even just taking, you know, a short getaway. At the same time, there might be also opportunities that may come up where somebody will introduce them to like this get rich quick opportunity, or something that's too good to be true, saying, hey, if you just, you know, send this money to some, you know, prince in some country far away, you will be, you know, getting 10 times in return, or something that really maybe looks beautiful, or somebody that's gonna pretend to be like the starving artist, but really they're not, just to kind of ask for money. So it's good if you kind of initiate this retreat or artistic venture on your own, and you know you're in control, then it's okay, but kind of be wary of others coming in wanting something or offering things that promise, you know, riches. At this time, that may not necessarily be realistic. So let's see, then moving on to December, from about December 10 of 2019 through all the way of February 2020, there may be concerns regarding either health issues or body in general. Could be like fitness related issues, like I said, health issues, or in a more of a positive manifestation, just the person may be feeling like they have outgrown their old self, so to speak, and they want to be seen in a new positive light. They may have new goals, or it may or may not be related to partnership issues. So if their partner is supportive and on board, then that's fine. But if partner kind of wants to see them, like I said, in this light where, hey, society has used to seeing you like this, why are you suddenly changing? Then obviously that may lead to conflict. But the person themselves may feel like it's a time of transformation. It may be related to finance, from something as drastic as perhaps there's a loss in the family, but yet they get inheritance and now they have to deal with it, to something that they just feel their health needs improvement, or maybe they have gone through some health issue and now they feel like, I need to change my lifestyle drastically because it's not sustainable, or they just feel like, hey, I just need to be, you know, in great shape because I'm training for this marathon. So some sort of a change like that. And again, if partners are supportive of that, then there's no issue. At the same time, there may be pressure to like, hey, you're changing so much that your sort of how society views you or what your career looks like may also undergo change, and not everybody may necessarily like that, or some people may feel like they're surprised and that's too radical of a change.
So let's see. So this change may be for better if the person deals with things, for example, health related would be focus on strengthening like teeth, bones, and skeleton. And if there are any sort of excess calcium anywhere, like in, I don't know, arteries or something, to deal with that. If a person does things that where they become more disciplined, even if others may find it too rigid, say they get up at a certain time and they go to sleep a certain time, it's actually a good thing. And there might be some losses may be necessary, like, hey, cut out certain foods, right? Or cut out certain even fun activities, but they're a waste of time, really. So it's okay to kind of become more disciplined. It may involve kind of either less mobility or sort of desire to kind of finish things through a little bit more. Perhaps naturally a person may not be as sort of there may be some internal conflict perhaps about, like it may be easier to start something, but seeing it through, kind of sitting there and with it for a long time may be too boring. But in this time it may be sort of almost called for, either because a person decides to do it themselves. So they're like going to see things through and kind of pushing through it, working hard. Or if they don't do that, there will be some circumstances in their life that will force them to do that, like they want to go out and sort of exercise, run, but they have this project at work that really requires them sitting in one spot and they can't really move because they just need to finish it or else. And that may feel kind of burdensome because it'll be just too much to do, and of course that may impact health. So in this, like I said, just cut out all the unnecessary activities that at this point just a waste of time, like watching some soap opera on TV, or try to kind of just discipline things where your body is in certain routine. But that may help to kind of use the peak hours the best way. And again, paying attention to things related to bones and teeth. And if, say, for example, a person had to undergo surgery, or it's an elective surgery where they elect to make some changes to their body, just gonna make sure to see things through, not to rush into activity. Make sure everything, the healing process is finished. Absolutely no rush. Take it easy, slow and steady. Long, slow period of kind of recuperating, and carefully implement steps necessary to achieve whatever the project may be, including for health. Not rushing into anything, and careful, disciplined approach should really work wonders at this time. Another interesting thing to note, so around from about the 20th of December 2019 through again February 2020, and especially around the 28th of December and around February 11th through 28th, there might be some meetings or meeting that is going to be very important, or perhaps participating in the group gathering, like a retreat, a conference, being, at a school where you're a professor or a student, somewhere where you're really surrounded by sort of large group of people, or somebody, one person, but they're really important, and or being in the group that's either, like I said, extra spiritual, or at the place that's somewhat removed. So it could be, religious retreat, literally monastery or something like that, the hospital, prison, or somewhere, just laying low even at home, but not necessarily feeling like going out. So somewhere where a person either meets, and again, by meets, I mean it could be somebody they see on TV or something, get inspired by, or they're in a large group of people, say they're in a hospital. And so the meeting or meetings at that time might be quite important, and may even take place, like I said, even at sea or somewhere by the seaside. And that may be related to either learning something new from that person or from these people. Say it's a group of young people, maybe it's a professor or students kind of situation. So it will most likely involve some sort of meaningful communication, learning something, and or giving knowledge sort of to that person or to these people. And if there are health issues related, say a person needs to go to the hospital or somewhere on a retreat to kind of recuperate, I would pay attention to things like related to nervous system and breathing. So make sure that that is taken care of. So maybe if, again, I have no idea, I don't know anything about this person, but say they're traveling somewhere to the seaside to get better, and again to make sure their lungs are working properly, to sort of calm their nervous system down, something like that. Or if they're communicating, to make sure to take your time, to kind of breathe deeply, to not rush, and communicate as clearly as possible, and just again slow and steady rather, wins the race in this case. Then another time sort of period, I guess overlapping with this one, is from about the 20th of December to February 2021. So that's a time period, we're talking almost a year and a half, a little bit less than that. So again, 20th of December 19 to February of 21, right? So this is a very like sort of strong background influence, and this is something that may not be manifesting as a single event, rather this background influence, what the person may kind of perceive, like, why am I going through this? Like, I keep meeting this person, they have the same sort of message from me, and another person, they kind of also trying to push me in that direction. So this will be related to experiencing perhaps or being involved in power plays, manipulation, pressure, obsession, some concerns about legality or criminal activities, perhaps health issues, saying goodbye to something or someone, like letting something go, and setting a new phase in life. So obviously letting go of your old phase in life. So this may have to do with, say, either feeling pressure again, say you wanted to start a new phase in life and you just want to be your new self, new goals, but then you feel like, but my old social, persona is out there, or my partner perceives me this way, so there's this pushback and pressure, or will they perceive me correctly? So the person may feel that pressure, and so they will have to work through this. Again, this is a long-term period, so they will have some months to work through that. Or perhaps they feel like they need to pressure somebody or even manipulate somebody because they feel like they can't get their end goal otherwise. And that may have to do with, say, concerns about money, especially debt or inheritance. And if that's the case, they might be involved either neighbors or siblings, so there might be some power plays, manipulation over money, again, with those kind of people. And or, like I said, it could be just issues with value, not necessarily financial, but value of oneself, where again there's some feeling pressured to not necessarily that what they're trying to achieve or who they're trying to be is not necessarily valued by others, and they feel pressured to be, do something differently, and to the point where there may be even, like I said, concerns about legality of it, and or person themselves maybe perhaps they're part of, justice systems, like a lawyer or some sort of police person or something like that, and so they may also feel like they have to fight, the crime, and they're doing something, and maybe there's somebody who's not quite honest there, that whom they have to really watch very carefully, and there's this manipulation and power play, spying on somebody, or that person spying on them, and this kind of doesn't look very pretty. But again, on the lighter side, it could be literally just feeling perhaps that you want to start a new phase in life, you want to be valued for something different, and you feel pressure because people want to perceive you as your old self instead. Or perhaps you want to start leading a healthier lifestyle, or you want to move more, you want to go someplace or do something different again with your body, and people may feel, that, they want to pressure you because, again, from their perspective, it's not worth it. Financially, the other issue might be that there's some debt going on, and or some consequences related to, say, old things, loans, debt, that kind of holding you back, and so you need to resolve those first, and so you feel that there is this pressure to resolve that first before you can start this new phase in life. Okay, so the next time period, I guess, would be a short one here that is worth mentioning. It's the end of this year, 2019, so from about December 30th through about January 9, 2020, especially January 2nd through 4th, there may be a time where there may be some sort of a strong focus on secrets, or on somebody hiding some information, or being at the places of seclusion, like I said, some maybe religious retreat, or hospital, prison even, etc. So somewhere where one goes voluntarily or not, and it could even be sort of an escape, where literally a person just sitting in their own room, but they're escaping into their imagination, fantasy, and they just may feel like taking it easy, but also kind of maybe focusing more on the spiritual side of things, or kind of thinking through things, imagining things, or doing something creative. And it may involve either communicating, say writing poetry, or writing something in general, or perhaps they need to go, like I said, to a hospital or retreat because they need to calm their nerves or improve breathing. Sort of that's a good time to maybe do things that are good for like lungs, mental health, improve maybe communication. So if things were not previously very clear, maybe put them down on like paper, rewrite it, edit what you wanted to say, just to kind of make that a little bit more clear, because right now there may be a lot of things coming up, many creative ideas, but they will need to be sorted out, to make them more concrete. So there may be some travel at this time, or like I said, just travel in your sort of imagination. And like I said, the information may come in that is either involves some secrets, or is not clear. So maybe somebody is not saying something, so it kind of is hard to communicate because not all the information is there. So, the person may be then kind of making things up in their head because they don't have information. So they're like trying to think what could be missing. And it's okay kind of to not overthink that, because this time, like I said, after about January 9th of 2020, things should straighten out and it will no longer be necessary to kind of imagine things. Or vice versa, if you were imagining things and you have great ideas, again, after that time, after January 9th or so, it would be good to start actually implementing things. And the, like I said, the person may go on a trip, especially overseas or somewhere further than they usually go. So it's not like, next door neighbor, but maybe going somewhere on a longer trip. And or they may be communicating with people who are lawyers, or say about law, immigration, communicating with foreigners, people from other cultures, people that have other beliefs, perhaps some religious leaders, or communicating about religious topics, or just like I said, reading about something spiritual where they just kind of imagine things and think about that. This is also a good time, again, to use like mental sort of work and perhaps learn like a new language, some new skill, especially again mental skill of some sort, like a IT related subject, or perhaps religious related subject, that again something that's maybe somewhat abstract and involves imagining things, but that would be a good sort of use of time instead of just daydreaming. Actually learn something that may improve mental skills or communication. So let's see, then moving out to 2020. From right at the beginning of January into mid-February of 2020, there may be a period of sort of being super busy, that it may feel like a strain on health, it may require extra effort to do things may be delayed, like maybe you have many things piled up, perhaps not because you've delayed things, but somebody just, finally things came through and now suddenly you have a lot of things to do, or you're waiting for somebody to do things and they are not quite up to speed. There are some obstacles that delay after delay. It's okay to not worry about it so much and not kind of try to fight that wall. It's just the time that, again, the reason for a slowdown is because it requires following everything sort of step by step and very thoroughly. And if you rush through things, you will miss things that are important. And the process is important. It's kind of learning again the discipline. So cut out the unnecessary things, maybe following some sort of a routine to make things kind of more predictable. And so again, potentially like extra hard work may affect health, especially like bones, teeth, and heart. And it could either the person themselves may feel that stress on their health, or it could be one of their male relatives, such as father or brother, perhaps. So kind of pay attention to that. If that person may need to help somebody in addition to being busy. And or there may be this issue of sort of lack of mobility, because maybe a person wants to, say, travel overseas or immigrate or something like that, and they can't really go, and they may feel stressed out about that. Again, it's okay if things are not moving. Things will move at their own speed. It's okay to not kind of force the issue because some things may be missed. You may need to work extra hard and push against the constraints, but make sure to pay attention to any sort of authority demands, any sort of, if there are governmental officials that are putting some demands on, or anybody in power putting demands, to kind of pay attention and to, let's say, either comply with those or make sure that important things are not missed, because if one does not comply with that or address them, there will be more sort of delays and etc. that will drag on. That said, I wouldn't be expecting things to kind of speed up until after February 2020. And like I said, this may be a time period of hard work, either health issues or health issues from male relatives, and there may be pressure from authority figures such as, again, like a father, governmental authorities, older individuals, or concerns about older individuals such as a father figure. Next, around January 24, 2020, so plus minus a few days, there may be focus on finance, that financial resources that come from other people, such as, investments, debt, or, loans, as well as inheritance, and even issues related to death. So if indeed somebody is really sick, unfortunately, that could be the time where they may need extra help, and the issues, again, doesn't mean that the person will pass away, but the issues related to inheritance, like how should it be, make sure that documents are in place to make sure that things just don't fall through, this may need to be addressed, and or there might be a meeting or discussion, like I said, that's around January 24th, 2020, about the value of something, about money, and it could be about investments. So decision may need to be made, like how much, is something being owed, how to get that money, how to repay that money, or sort of investing the money into something, but again, it's maybe a large sum, and a person may need to pay extra attention at this time. So moving right along, February 2020 through February 2021 is another long time period with this background influence where maybe things come up, some sort of theme that repeats, maybe different people come into your life, and there's the same kind of a theme that's coming through again and again. And that has to do again with power plays, perhaps attacks or feeling attacked. Maybe there is no real attack, but just kind of feeling almost paranoid about like what's going on. Why do I keep being, singled out for something? Or vice versa, feeling like you really need to be in control and almost like feeling that you need to dominate something to really have full control of the situation. And this may have to do with work, career, or health, such as like exercising. Maybe you feel like you really need to be in great shape, prepared to win some sort of a competition, and you really need to work extra hard, training for a marathon, maybe martial arts or something like that. It's basically that kind of tenacity that may be necessary. You either feel it, you just want to do it because you just, again, this is a lifestyle change, or you feel that you need to be this strong to basically not succumb to pressure from some authority figures. So the negative manifestation could involve something like maybe there are accidents, or being attacked, or experiencing things like fire maybe, or dealing with, being in the danger zone of some place where it's just like maybe you live your normal life, but the area where you live is somehow dangerous. Or being put in a position, where you're under threat. Maybe you yourself choose to risk your life to go somewhere to maybe, help, children in the impoverished areas, but there's this danger there, right, to get maybe an infection or something like that. So it could be a positive thing that somebody voluntarily takes upon themselves. But at the same time, there's some danger associated with that. At the same time, it could be, danger where you're exercising, you're happily, everything is fine, maybe you're just training for competition, but the danger here would be like, okay, over-exercising, over-training yourself to the point where your body just can't take it. So at the same time, say you're going through an illness or you're recuperating from, say, surgery, this is actually a good time to indeed find that second wind, find those resources and basically regenerate and start from scratch. So it's totally possible to overcome difficulties at this time. But again, the mindset would be like, like you're a martial artist, you completely need to kind of rethink how you view sort of your surroundings and really pull those maximum physical resources to accomplish what needs to happen. So the person may be prone to either, like, again, train really hard or take risks or do something that's like too risky, too fast, too aggressive, And again, it's best if this is happening kind of voluntarily with caution versus being put in that position like, hey, you have to go work there and this is your assignment, and the person is then sort of powerless where others are putting them in that position. So this may involve relationship with somebody who's like a coach or an athlete or training them. Again, if you're the somebody who's training somebody, perhaps be careful to kind of not put that person under too much pressure. It's okay for them to not go through a boot camp. Like that kind of a sort of power application is not necessarily a good thing in this case, because again, things may kind of get out of hand. The person may snap, literally, so it's just exercise caution. If you're exercising yourself, you do have the resources, but again, don't push yourself too hard, because again, you may get actually sick from that. Yet another possible manifestation could be, and that's again February 2020 through February 2021. There may even be legal issues may come up where perhaps it involves, some coercion or manipulation or some illegal activity or concerns about illegal activity. Perhaps you're not doing it yourself, but you're suspecting somebody else is doing it, and you just feel really angry about it. You want to do something about it, put a stop on it, or somebody suspects you. Perhaps you're not doing anything, but somebody is suspecting you, and so you have to deal with that pressure. And so that's kind of annoying. And that may be literally based on nothing, just a paranoid neighbor, or it can be involving disputes with siblings and or neighbors over things like cars, inheritance, payments, debt, especially debt related to transportation. Say you owe somebody money for a car and they come and they want to collect it, and you have to deal with that. So that would be something to pay attention to during that time period. And so now let's talk about a different sort of set of influences, and rather this is going to be one influence, but it will manifest in sort of three periods during 2020. So it will be from about end of February 2020 through about mid-March, then mid-June to about mid-August, and then from about mid-October to, I'd say, for next month or so. And so I would say it could be fell through 2020, but with these particular time periods being peak influences. And that's when the person, if say they were suffering from some sort of a health issue, they may feel actually better about themselves. They may feel like finally they can relax. Maybe they have an opportunity to travel somewhere. And or if they're having some legal issues, maybe those legal issues can start getting resolved, or some things may be finalized there, and or they may feel like their personal goals are finally kind of being manifested and the relationships improve, and or they may have an opportunity to learn something, some new topics, study something, learn about new culture, new language, travel, like I said, overseas. If they're doing some immigration work, it may also look up better at that point. And there may also, alternatively, these issues such as immigration, travel, legal issues, or learning some new topic may just be sort of in the forefront of their mind at that time. But like I said, most likely it will be a positive development. And let me repeat those dates again. So it's about end of February to mid-March 2020, then mid-June to mid-August 2020, and then mid-October 2020 for another month, I would say mid-November or so. And the top influences at the time, or top issues to kind of deal with, would be immigration, travel overseas, maybe shipping, if somebody is in the business of shipping things, maybe transporting something over long periods of time, or addressing, those legal disputes with perhaps neighbors, siblings, or somebody that maybe they loaned the car from, or they loaned the car to. So those issues may kind of come up, but at that time things may be looking up more positively for them, that those things will get resolved, or at least ease off, or ease up, I guess, I don't know. And next influence would be something that will be felt in 2020, so it's mid-March to early April. The person may feel also energetic, kind of happier, or like they have more energy. If previously maybe they were working really hard, feeling tired, now they will feel like they have more energy. Maybe they will have gone on a trip and now they came back and they feel better. And so they have more energy to make new plans, work on, personal goals, health. And towards the second half of March, they may feel sort of better health-wise and more optimistic, and make more progress. They may travel, especially far away somewhere, and they may feel like they're being more productive at work, or perhaps they are able to, even if there are legal issues that are still persisting, they're still feel like they're more energetic and they feel like more in control, where they can address those a little bit more easily. And the time may be busier than before, that's mid-March to early April, but at the same time they may feel kind of, like I said, healthier, more energetic, and or satisfied that things are progressing well. Then from about April through early July of 2020, there may be increased focus on relations, especially like I said, could be business partnership, but also personal partnerships, and especially with women. That may involve either emotions or home or mother type figures, or perhaps other females who, again, are just, one needs to be careful about sort of their emotions and those females' emotions. Let's see. And there may also be issues related to, say, digestion. So say one visits home or something, and they spend more time with their family, they may get, to eat different things. So maybe it's a good thing, improving, their digestion, something that they're used to. At the same time, if they feel extra emotional because they're dealing with somebody and the relationship sort of is, bothering them, or they just worry about it, their digestion may therefore be affected, because again, they just feel a little bit more like worried. So it is important at this point to kind of try to sort of control these emotions, and not control in a negative way, but rather to not let yourself kind of be overcome by those emotions, because again, this may affect digestion, and in general probably is not a healthy state of mind. And at the same time, there could be females, vice versa, who can actually offer support and advice and some comfort, again, some emotional support, just by being a little bit more in tune with that side of life. And at the same time, there may be some partners, female partners, again, could be, mother figures, could be just female partners who complain that they're not getting attention and time, and they may feel emotionally a little bit needier than usual, or perhaps they're not needier than usual, but the person's just so busy at work that they perceive them as needy. So there just needs to be a balance kind of at that time, to not overlook other people's needs, especially their partners, especially females, and otherwise it may sort of result to that neglect, if there's neglect, and problems with the digestive system. So let's see. Then in February 2020, it's possible that the persons have more events in their life that are related to their family, their home, and or like digestive system again, mother figures. So this may involve something like maybe traveling back to their sort of childhood home, or spending time with their family, with their parents. And there may be some surprises related to that. Or like suddenly they need to make a trip, or they come and there are changes that they don't recognize, things have changed, or vice versa, they themselves may get a new place, and then that again could be something that's either a lot more sort of high-tech than before, or it's a little bit different than everybody would have expected from them, in a different place, or maybe the decision to buy a new place comes really rapidly, and or there's some sort of a surprise or some suddenness kind of aspect about that, or there may be some unexpected circumstances related to family, or like I said, digestive system, and that's February 2020. Let's see, then around June 1st, 2020, plus minus a few days, there may be events that specifically relate to, again, finance, resources, financial resources from other people. So it could be inheritance, debt, loans, insurance, taxes, and these circumstances may involve deep emotions, doing some research, kind of researching the circumstances, digging deeper. Could even involve news about death. Like I said, of course, inheritance, the death, those things are related. Or the person may really work hard on trying to make something happen, push for some change, or remove some limitations. So perhaps they're trying to stop something from happening, or in order for something to happen, they need to remove those obstacles, and those could be, maybe their taxes, or there's some insurance, and in order to get the money, they really need to deal with those circumstances to make that happen. Health-wise, that they may feel like, again, obviously, pressure. They may feel like they're a little bit weaker at that time. Especially watch out for bones, teeth, and excessive calcification. So kind of, it's not a good time to be extra rigid, because if you're kind of rigid mentally, you may experience in your life these accidents that come and kind of break that rigidity, because it's just this energy cannot sort of flow through you. So it's best to kind of make changes and not hold on to the old way of life too much. So if the change needs to happen, kind of go with the flow and make the change happen. Again, following things step by step as much as possible. So for example, if the person is experiencing ill health, or they just want to make a change for better in their ill health, they may need to go for some sort of surgery, or say have a tooth removed or something like that. And it's okay to go for it, again, as long as everything has been sort of weighted before, make sure that the doctor is right, that the circumstances are right. But it's possible that at that time they may deal with something like serious like that, where again, somebody may pass away, they need to deal with inheritance, or they may feel pressure dealing with authorities who will demand, paying a payment of a debt or insurance, or if say they're investing, there may be some concern there where something else needs to be paid somewhere, or some legal issues may need to be addressed, because again, authorities are demanding something for certain, I guess, requirements to be met in order to be able to proceed, and that may feel like extra difficult. And at the same time, they may feel, oh gosh, I have, my joints are hurting, or I need to have wisdom tooth removed or something like that. So it's best, basically, that would be symbolizing things that not to be too rigid and hold on to this old order of things, kind of go with the change. And if it needs to even go through some surgery, or removing of a tooth or something like that, to go with it and basically say goodbye to that old way of life or old thing and just kind of part with it, it will be worth it in the long run. So 2 more topics I have here, going to a little bit of a 21. So mid-January of 2021, there may be a sort of intense focus on issues related to partnerships and legal agreements. So perhaps maybe you need to sign some new legal papers, or some status changes like immigration status, or just status of a company, or dealing with international partners, or having to ship something overseas, or receiving something from far away, or traveling far away. You need to have your passport updated, etc., visas. And at the same time, the partner may need to travel somewhere, or partners legal situation may be changing, or their immigration situation may be changing, or a partner just has new belief, maybe it's a religious belief or something along those lines, and partner maybe wants more freedom in that respect. Maybe they want to travel somewhere, travel more, travel further, travel to a particular place or something like that, where perhaps this person doesn't necessarily want to go there with their partner, or there's a concern about going there because of some again, cultural differences or legal issues. So there might be some disagreements. Again, if it's a business partnership, there could be, again, worries about the cultural differences. Can we make it happen in this country? Because this maybe business involves combining resources from different countries, or knowledge of a local culture. And there might be some concern about that, because there may not necessarily be good understanding of what each person kind of, truly needs, or what cultural issues or legal issues may need to be addressed, because again, partners may see it differently. So definitely, at the minimum, there may be, again, time where a person may either need to travel, or they feel like traveling, or they may need to be shipping something overseas, or receiving some more from overseas, or just dealing with their international partners, or dealing with local partners, but whose background is different because they came from a different culture, or perhaps their religious or moral beliefs are different. And again, this could be from something as mundane as what I just said, but it could also be literally just discussing things with their partner where maybe they don't see eye to eye on some high, religious issues, and really nothing's actually happening in their lives. They're just literally one person has been participating in some I don't know, group or something, or and they want to join some, I don't know, the society or something like that, or they just want to follow a particular guru, or they want to follow a particular path, and their partner also wants to do that, but their paths are not aligning, or they really need to convince each other, saying, okay, this is why I think this is correct. And so communication can obviously do wonders, but there may be these kind of sort of circumstances where they may need to prove it to each other and agree to something, because they may not necessarily want to agree, or they will feel like, hey, I've done my duty and now let me go. I want to travel, or I want to go on this spiritual retreat, and I want to explore this part of myself. And so that the partner may not necessarily agree with that. Vice versa, again, like I said, the partner may be feeling like that and demanding like more freedom rather to do those things on their own. And finally, in February 2021, there may be again another issue that is also related to partnerships, again, business or personal, where there may be a possible change in legal status or reevaluation of the needs, or reevaluation of what somebody really wants and desires, and how much something maybe is of value. Maybe their value now changes, like maybe it's a business partnership and now they want to reevaluate each person's percentage, how much they have invested. Or maybe the person wants to, like the partner wants to kind of leave the business and they want to sell their portion, so how much is it worth? That needs to be reevaluated. This may involve kind of scaling back on expenses, regaining control over financial resources, and perhaps there may be some issue where the partner feels like spending more or demanding more money or something like that. And so this person may feel like they need to kind of control how much their partner is spending, because the partner is suddenly just like, maybe they joined a group and the group says, hey, you need to donate us money, and the person just goes and kind of starts spending and donating money that are joint money. So this may need to be addressed. Or in the business partner, perhaps business partner gets carried away and they spend more money, again, common money, onto something, or they loan money to somebody, or they basically kind of go a little bit out of control. And so this person, whose chart we're looking at, needs to basically kind of rein that person back in. But that person may feel like, hey, why you're telling me what to do? I'm a partner too. I can do whatever I want. I want to travel. I want to spend the money. We have the money, or I want to donate it because it's a good karma or something like that. So those kind of issues may involve both sort of issues, differences in beliefs, but also issues like that deal with joint money and how to handle them, because their partner or partners may be seen by this person as kind of being not as responsible, or wanting to kind of take too much freedom in, do things that perhaps they haven't done before. And the person may feel like they need to ask their partner to spend less, or to explain why they want to spend it on, or to impose some sort of budget or limitations. But at the same time, this may obviously lead to some conflicts where the partner may feel like their freedom is infringed, even if it's temporary. So there might be some disagreements about what is the right thing to do based on some cultural or moral beliefs. Again, this may not be because there's a lack of money per se to share, but rather that there's a disagreement of how to do it based on some either religious or moral beliefs, or even on a legal basis, basically what is worth spending money on and where to cut on the expenses. So I hope that this was at all useful and interesting. These transits would actually be to some degree helpful to people who are born at a similar date, and particularly the two strong sort of background influences that will last from the end of 2019 to as late as even early 2021 have to do with Pluto, sort of a really long-term, slowly unfolding Pluto transit. So people who have Sun or Ascendant in a similar degree, so somewhere around, let's say, 23rd of Capricorn, they are experiencing probably already, and they will experience for many months to come, this kind of pressure to, on the one hand, change, and maybe pressure to sort of invent new things in their lives, their new goals, or perhaps address their health issues at the same time, or they may pressure themselves because they just have this, you know, fascination with like new way of life and they really just want to make a big change in their lives. But this is something that's going to be an ongoing big thing, but once they're through with that, it may feel difficult. They may, you know, have some losses, you know, some sacrifices along the way, but at the end they will feel completely regenerated, completely new. So if somebody, say, maybe had gone through like a long illness, or they lost a loved one, after that time they will feel like they have discovered sort of new parts of themselves they haven't really been in touch with ever or for a long time, and they may find sort of new meaning in life and new health, because again they had to go through so much, they had to kind of pull themselves back up, and it will be a lot more meaningful after that. But this could be a long period, sort of various events to kind of go through in the meantime. So I hope that this is going to be an inspirational period for you, and just let me know if you have any other thoughts, or those who know about astrology, Western astrology in particular, and you have analyzed the chart or some transits or really progressions, anything else that you like and you use, and feel free to leave in the comments basically your ideas, your tips. I'm sure that people who have similar aspects, similar positions in their chart will appreciate that. So I hope you enjoyed this, and catch you guys later.